Once you have completed your collage and you completed making the viewfinder of the section that you're going to enlarge as your painting, so this is the area that I'm going to create as my painting. The next step, and most of you have done this already, you're going to create an underpainting or a wash. So on this one, we did a wash. I made this one super liquid and let it drip down some. You can get fun with the washes. Make sure that they're a neutral color, meaning that they're tans, browns, or gray colors, all right? A neutral and a light color for your wash. And there's a few different ways you can do that. You can do that with a sponge and just wipe the color on, or a wet paper towel. Also, if you have an old rag somewhere, an old piece of cloth or an old t-shirt, you can bring that in. You can even do the wash that way. And then once this is dry, I'm going to go ahead and draw out that section of the collage that I'm going to do. And I have one here where I've already drawn it out. And then look at the picture that I've also attached onto this assignment. What I did was I used my camera on the phone. I took a picture of just that section. So I just zoomed in, took a picture of just the section that I'm working on. And then in the camera on the phone, I turned that into black and white. So I'm actually working from a black and white photograph because I'm going to create a Grisaille painting. Yes, a Grisaille painting. And you can look that word up. It means gray scale. It's a French word, and it means working in grayscale. And the reason we do this is so that we can see all of the tones of the colors before we put the color on top of them. It's going to help you, and it's going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to save you a lot of paint as well. So to make a Grisaille painting, again, I have just black and white to make different shades of gray. I've already drawn out my picture here, and you can see I've already started to add some of the black and white tones here. And again, so with the big puddle of white, you'll notice that with the palette paper, I'm using this palette paper on the waxy side, okay? And I usually set this on top of a piece of foam core, or you could also set it on top of a magazine just for support so that you don't drop it while you're, because this is quite flimsy, okay? So set it on top of something so that you can mix with it. And then I'm just gonna mix, I'm gonna take a tiny bit of the black and add it into the white to get different tones from that. So you can see I'm using a palette knife to mix these until I get the right tone that I'm looking for. And I always work with 2 or 3 brushes at a time. So I have one that's a small round. I have sort of a medium size or a number 10 flat brush. And then I have a number 12 filbert brush. So you can see it's kind of rounded. Those are just the ones that I like to work with. You might have your own preferences. And then I'm just going to go in and start to paint in the shapes, trying to match that black and white picture. And you can look at the assignment and see the black and white pictures that I posted. And this is going to help me also to figure out what areas I need to paint first, what areas are all the way down on the surface or in the background, what areas I need to paint second, third, and so forth, okay? And so this will sort of help me as I'm beginning the painting and also match the tones of the painting with the black and the white. Also, once I start to add color, I won't have to go super thick with the color because I'll already have these tones down, and you'll see later as I add the color that I'll only have to do 1 coat, possibly 2 coats, but usually I can just do, as long as I've matched the tone correctly in gray, then I can just use 1 coat and it will match. So again, I'm matching those black and white. So again, you will need to go onto your phone, take a picture, and then turn that picture into black and white so you can see it in a grayscale. So you'll want to paint that So you'll see in mine that those black lines were kind of the darkest area. I did those in quite a dark gray. This green over here is also a much darker green, so I'm going to go in, add a bit more black into there. So you can see that I'm changing the tones by adding more or less black into it, okay? So that's quite a dark green there, so I'm going to go for a dark gray, and then I'll go in and start painting that in. And again, you'll need to let this dry completely before you add color to it. But with the color, we can actually go a bit more transparent and let some of this gray show through. Now, you're probably wondering, oh, but there's a lot of areas that were also white in the white of the paper in your picture, in your original collage. And so why do you have all these yellow areas? Because later, toward the end of the painting, I'm going to go back in and paint white over that. And some of that's going to come through. It just creates more depth to the painting. It creates more interest and more depth to the painting rather than just leaving this the white of the canvas and the white of the gesso. All right. Sometimes you may need a spray bottle to spray down the water to get it a little bit more liquid to move it around. But for the most part, this acrylic that we're working with, I'm just using it straight out of the bottle. The only time I use the liquid is when I was doing the wash underneath to make it really liquid. All right. So that is creating a Grisaille painting, a Grisaille painting. Okay, so that black and white gray scale painting underneath.